morning again.
How are you?
Yeah, real good, real good. Weather's picking up. Dynamics Pack shirt, Dynamics Pack logo.
I'm going to say you've put the booth up. That's really good.
nothing's too much trouble.
Okay, so we've done the first two sessions, which is your review of the Microsoft Business Applications Summit, which was held virtually in early May. This is the final session, session 3. We're reviewing your key takeaways. What's the content of today's discussion?
We're going to have a look at infusing these things together, how they work together, a little bit at Microsoft Commerce, and a bit more depth on the Common Data Service.
Okay, good. Got some slides?
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, so what's RPA in the context of Power Automate?
Well, Power Automate, as we said in the first session, is the workflow tool. It's the ability to set up workflows that will step through, and based on answers to questions or conditions will do different things. Might fire off a report or a Power BI thing, or send an email to somebody, or go to a next step of a workflow. But that's what Power Automate is. Robotic process automation is the ability to record and replay things, used a lot in testing, used a lot in training. But because all of these different tools from Microsoft interoperate, a word they seem to use is infuse, they basically work together very well.
Okay.
So you could take an example of creating a workflow here in Power Automate, and you might want that workflow to kick off an action, to open a website, to log into the website, to click on something. Well, you do that by recording a script using the RPA software. The RPA software will allow you to record your mouse inputs, your keyboard inputs. It will go across websites or applications or on your computer. So basically, it's to record a set of actions.
Okay.
Then you can use your Power Automate to kick off the script that you've recorded. So you can build that automation into the workflow you've generated. Take that a step further, and you could use the AI tool so that you're using intelligent conversation analysis. So you speak to the computer, it analyzes what you're saying, processes that through the workflow, decides to kick off the test script that you've recorded, and you've used the 3 technologies there together. And that's kind of the point of these Power Platform applications. They all work together in the context of the security, your enterprise data, with the scalability of all that Azure compute power sat behind it, with telemetry, so your IT people can monitor what's working and what's not working in your workflows. And it just all comes together really, really well, so much more than the sum of its parts.
Okay.
Also, the RPA software has been extended to DevOps. DevOps, or Development Operations, is a Microsoft technology we use in managing development code. So we can write source code, we can decide which code gets promoted into build environments, which code gets promoted into test environments. We can check on where it is, we can check on the status of it, who's written it, whether it's in progress, whether it's complete. And there's a tool there that's developed for managing development work. Well, of course, RPA is embedded into that. So whatever code we're developing, managed by DevOps, we can test using the RPA tool. We can put Power Automate scripts in to kick off automated testing, or automated transfer of code that we've written into test environments or into build environments. This is the whole lot interoperates so nicely. It creates really, really powerful set of applications to use, which in essence are fairly simple tools in their own right.
Yeah, no, but simple, but very powerful. So commerce. So e-commerce is obviously very topical at the moment.
Yeah, Microsoft have recently, bought, and integrated into their technology the new commerce software.
We were obviously involved in one of the first omni-channel solutions, multi-channel retail solutions when we were involved in Omnica. But things have come on, and Microsoft have done their usual. They've acquired a couple of ISVs over the years. Didn't they acquire Junction Solutions? Is the foundation of this from the old Junction Solutions IP?
The new commerce platform is not the Junction IP. It's a new piece of IP, and very much focused around B2B, B2C web shop experiences.
Okay.
But Microsoft already had integrated a very strong retail component. So probably over the last 4 or 5 years into the package, they built in elements of omnichannel marketing, campaign management, pricing management, retail store management, merchandising, retail catalogs, retail price promotions. So the focus of the product until recently was probably more about driving an in-store experience, and the new commerce platform really adds to that, the ability to take that into customer facing or business facing, web shops and online experiences. So there's a lot of IP from a lot of sources that's been integrated to make the complete solution that we use today. And because it's new, I suppose the exciting thing about the announcements at the show is Microsoft brought out this Commerce in a Day program, where basically partners or customers can sign up with Microsoft to a day's exploration of what's in the box of the commerce platform for functionality. Wow. You can see there, it will allow you to evaluate the software, decide whether to buy it, to evaluate whether it's fit for your purposes, and help you create a little trial system to inform that decision.
And presumably, sorry, but presumably can this operate standalone or integrate with an ERP CRM system? Does it have to be Microsoft, or will it work with anything?
Well, the commerce platform is a Microsoft front end, and it's fed by data from the Dynamics systems. So really it's designed to be used as a component of a Dynamics deployment, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Because it's a fairly rich environment that's been taken on, Microsoft AppSource already has quite a lot of apps developed specifically around their commerce and retail platform. So for example, there's the Adyen payment gateway, PayPal for processing payments, the K3 fashion functionality. So there's a whole bunch of industry specific add-ons and variants to this platform technology that can be used for businesses in certain lines of business. This makes it a lot quicker to build and deploy commerce and retail solutions because you don't have to write all that IP. There's quite a lot of it is already there.
Yeah, you still have the ability using best of breed apps that are already there and work with it.
Yeah, and do a bit more development on top of that if you really need it. Okay. But it does enable you to get a solution out there quite quickly. No bad thing in today's market.
Absolutely not. I mean, we've already talked about that, haven't we? The amount of e-commerce sites that have been exposed by the increase in traffic due to the pandemic.
Yeah, I think people found out whether they had a scalable technology or not overnight, didn't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that a test it in prod example?
Okay, so back to common data services, Keith. Tell us what's in the box.
Well, there's a screen full there of what's in the box. And the point is that the main Power Platform applications of Power BI, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, and the Power Apps themselves built around this API or application programming interface, which is the Common Data Service. The Common Data Service is built on a comprehensive set of layers, starting with the security using Active Directory or AD authentication, which basically is your Microsoft login. So once you've logged into Microsoft, your security profile prevails across all the Microsoft applications you use, from Microsoft Office to Power BI to the Common Data Service. There's a logic layer where logic can be built around the data, so calculated fields, business rules that are applied when you create new records or delete new records. All of that is built in this platform of the Common Data Service, so it's there to be leveraged by every application that you write. In fact, you can't write applications without going through all of these layers of the Common Data Service. You can't write them without the security. You can't write them without applying the business rules that you've built into the logic. You can't write them without using the data modeling that Microsoft have already built.
Okay,
applies to mobile and offline data experience. That's built into the Common Data Service, so you don't have to do anything special in your applications. There's a storage layer. So Microsoft have opened up the box of Azure and thrown everything at it, really. Their Cognos database, their SQL Server database, their data lakes, all the technologies that you see in the Azure global compute stack are sat underneath the Common Data Service and driving it. Then there's a whole bunch of different integration technologies, so you can integrate it to just about anything. You can export stuff from Common Data Service into SQL if you want to do something with it there. You can export it to the data lake. You can create events and services that feed directly off the Common Data Service. Microsoft have got some of their own technologies like Dynamics 365, of course, with the CRM and the ERP that that connector suite is built into the Common Data Service. But they've also built in some 360 integrations into other databases, and there's the technology there to build further integrations should you want it. I'm not going to explain all of what's in Microsoft Azure, although I did reference a few features on the previous slide. You can see there your base Power Apps coming through load balancing services into a set of servers that distribute the jobs that are fed by all those data technologies that are sat behind your Azure data functions.
So how much has all of this improved over the last year or two?
Quite a lot of that large-scale technology is stuff that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But making it work together is what's new. Making it work without having to do a whole load of code and configuration and setup. Basically, you use the Common Data Service. How that lot works in the background is Microsoft's problem. And well, it's not a problem because it just works. It's really, really easy to leverage. And also, it's just part of your subscription license. So if you were going to set up your own mimic of that functionality, it would cost incalculable amounts of money. But Microsoft have done all that infrastructure investment. So in your subscription, you leverage all that learning, all that compute, all that integration, and you write what look like dead simple apps in Power Apps, Power Automate, little bits of AI, Power BI, and it's got full enterprise class compute behind it.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I thought. I just wanted you to reassure me. Thank you.
Just like the words, don't you?
Well, no. I mean, what's come through all three of these chats is that the power and deliverability and efficiency for both partners and end users has improved way beyond where we were before, which is
basically I see it as a coming of age of this technology. A lot of it's been there. A lot of it's been there for people to use in specialist contexts when they've needed it. but now it's readily available and it's improving monthly. They're adding to it all the time. I really do think it's the right time for businesses to be getting on board with what's happening in this space. And then, you know, my background is finance and operations, or, you know, Dynamics Exapta, Dynamics AX, Dynamics 365 Finance, however you'd like to call it today. And previously, we've had limited support from the Common Data Service of a certain number of the entities within the finance and operations database have been exposed to Common Data Service. But now Microsoft have opened up all of the entities. So when we talk about an entity, we might talk about...
When you say all, what you mean, everything?
Very nearly everything. Everything we're likely to want to use. And this is an announcement of that's, you know, coming soon. So in the next few weeks, that will be available for, you know, D365 finance and operation users to access. Microsoft have done the work. It's past the pre-release and the beta, and they're just putting it out there now. So when we look at an entity, I mean,
we're dealing with finance and operations. You know, there's always a reluctance to deal with emerging technologies. Is it an emerging technology?
No, it's something you can use right now. So if you want to, you know, read, write, update data in a Dynamics 365 database, the CDS is there to do it with.
And it's robust.
Well, we just looked at, you know, the scalability, the security, and, you know, what's that behind this. It couldn't be more robust.
Okay, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just trying to deal with what the CFO is going to ask in my client.
Yeah. And so all the entities are exposed. So a customer entity, a product entity, a supplier entity. There may be some fields or tables in the database not exposed to the entity, and we can add those if we need them to. So it would still be stringing it to say absolutely everything is available straight out of the box. But it's moved from some things were available to nearly everything is available, which, you know, passes that litmus test of this is ready to start using. Okay. And it's the first choice for looking at how you would integrate systems to D365 now.
In 20 years of delivering ERP systems with you, Keith, you've never let me down, so I trust you.
Yeah, trust me, I'm not a doctor. So a slightly more technical diagram for people to see how the finance and operations system is actually integrated with the Common Data Service. They've got these create, read, update, and delete transactions that are propagated through a JSON web service to a web API in finance and operations. So the technical connector is using, there's two ways commonly to access the D365 data, through a OData API or through the web API. And, you know, the technologies that has been used to connect CDS to operations is the JSON web service into the D365 web API. If you want to learn more about any of these things and look at it more properly, obviously go to the business applications slides and look at the sessions that discovered this indeed.
I was going to mention that at the end, actually. So if you search Microsoft Business Applications Summit, you can go through to all of the sessions and play them back on demand, and you don't have to register. You don't have to be a partner or a current end user. They're in the public domain. So there's some great content there.
Yeah, Microsoft are very focused on, you know, time to market and time to value. They create these great technologies and they want people to be using them.
Yeah.
So they put a lot more effort into training materials that you can consume yourself, into things like the business applications event, where you can learn about these things. And customers can learn about them almost as quickly as partners nowadays. It's pretty much the same content. We've probably got a bit more time to spend at the shows and reviewing that content, but there's 100 or so sessions in the business applications sessions, broken into 30 minute to 1 hour sessions. And if Common Data Services is your passion, there's 6 or 7 on the CDS. There's 4 or 5 on the Power Automate. You know, just pick and choose the bits that are of interest to you, and from there, each of those sessions will lead you into a deeper dive if you need to go further.
Okay, perfect.
Also coming for the Common Data Service is the ability to use direct SQL scripts, or T-SQL, transactional SQL. So you can query the Common Data Service using SQL scripts directly. That's really valuable to the developer community. That Power BI can make direct queries of Common Data Service now. In the past, we used to have to go indirectly by exporting the data into somewhere else like Excel or a data lake or a SQL database, and then report against the data we'd exported. Now we can report against the live data, which brings us to, you know, pretty much real-time reporting. In CDS, they've added the ability to store full-size images and multiple images against a single record. You can configure which is your primary image. You can draw images back through both into Canvas Power Apps and model-driven Power Apps, if you remember the difference from those from session 1. And it just basically, although there was some image capability in CDS in the past, we've now got what we might consider to be grown-up image capability, which is a lot more useful when you're writing richer platforms where you perhaps want a small thumbnail image that leads to a larger image if you click on something, or where you're imaging a product and you want to show front, back, top, bottom. You can define those in your data and require that when a new product's created, you have to have the 4 images, which one is the primary image, which one is the top, which one is the bottom. And of course, if you think about writing an application there, your code can then call those images. So just a growing of the maturity of that functionality.
Okay.
There's new file data type, so actual files, PowerPoints, PDFs, Word documents, whatever, can be stored inside the data service, inside the database, rather than storing a link to, you know, a file share where these things are stored. That's very useful to people who are, you know, writing apps that are going to show customers product specifications, or, you know, product brochures, or, you know, catalogs and things like that. Again, just additional new functionality that extends the Common Data Service. I've also added the ability for people who are not Dynamics customers to use the Common Data Service, and there's another of those previews there that you can sign up to have a look at how that might work for you if you're wanting to use the Common Data Service to drive your Power Platform applications, but you don't actually have, you know, Dynamics to drive it with. There's a very powerful audit retention history been built into the Common Data Service. So for different record types, you can say for a customer, I want to store any data on customers for 2 years. And then even when you delete it, it's retained in an audit log where you'd be able to go and get it back. You could say,
is this what it looks like? Is it just an ability to set and manage data retention policies?
Absolutely, yes. Without impacting the capacity or performance of your current system, but giving you that regulatory compliance back to, you know, whatever period you define it's required for.
Yeah, got it.
Lovely feature, really. And there's so much more in the detail of those Common Data Service sessions. The one I liked best was OND 3030, but there's, you know, a number of other Common Data Service sessions. They're good to find out more about the product, but also in there you will meet virtually, you know, some of the people behind it and some contacts who could provide you, you know, more information if that's what you require.
Okay.
So, you know, in conclusion, you know, why Power Apps, why now? And pretty much what we've talked about. It's brought together a lot of disparate tools. It's set on a world-class data and security and compute platform. It's ready to build remote apps that can work temporarily disconnected from the internet, or live apps that have got a real-time data connection. And mainly for Dynamics users, but also for non-Dynamics users, it's just a low-code platform for developing your own applications that are robust, scalable, secure, and aren't going to break your database.
And it's now it's the foundation for all Microsoft Business applications for the future, I'm guessing.
If you're going to start adding things to your Dynamics system or business applications, absolutely, it's where you're going to start. And they've joined these what we might call basic developer tools or low code, no code developer tools to the full power tools like Visual Studio. So you can start an application and you can bring in pro developers to work around that and add to it. It'd be interesting to see in the future how many of the pro developers actually start from business applications in the Power Platform and scale them out, because there's so much of the early building blocks of application development built for them.
Thanks for that, Keith. Those 3 sessions, I'm sure, were useful for different people in different aspects of their D365 role, hopefully. I'm assuming the Inspire conference will also be run virtually. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, the Inspire will be run as a virtual session. In fact, registration is open for that now.
Okay, and that's normally partner only. Do you know if that's allowing end users or just Microsoft partners?
I think the invites will have only gone out to partners. Whether customers can actually register for it or not, I don't know.
Okay, so we'll do a review anyway, and if you found this interesting, or you've got any feedback or any questions, or if you're looking for a Dynamics 365 partner, you can contact us through dynamicspact.com. And yeah, thanks for sharing with us, and talk to you soon, hopefully. Bye bye.
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers, Keith.